to ChristiChristie. We're so glad that you guys could be with us today. Today we have a very important and special guest, Bizzell. She is an infertility specialist and a doula. So we're going to get lots of great information and knowledge from Sierra on, going through the infertility process, hearing a little bit about her story, and just some of the experiences that she may have had as a doula. So Sierra, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you here.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. I'm glad to be here.
So Sierra, tell us a little bit about your journey, how you came to be an infertility specialist, and then subsequently a doula. Tell us about it.
Well, how much time do you have?
We here.
Well, our story was kind of weird and different, just because my husband and I got married at the ages of 20. Well, no, we were both 22 at the time. We got married in 2008, and 9 months later, we got pregnant with our oldest daughter. And I usually say that we weren't trying because we had decided that we wanted to try, and then I was like, I don't know, maybe not, wait, and then I got pregnant. I don't know about this, but now I'm pregnant. And so my pregnancy was very good. It was uneventful. I didn't even have morning sickness. It was like the perfect pregnancy, like no problems whatsoever. I did lots of research throughout my pregnancy because I wanted a natural birth. I wanted to do things as naturally as possible with as little interventions as I possibly could. I carried my daughter until I was 40 weeks and 2 days. I was supposed to be induced on that particular day. I went to the hospital and the nurse hooked me up to the monitor. She says, I know you're supposed to be induced, but it looks like you're already in labor. Did anybody tell you that? And I was like, well, no, nobody said anything. So they still continue with the induction process, even though she said I was already in labor. They gave me these 2 little white suppository things that are called Cervidil. I think they replaced it with Cytotec now. I'm not really sure. And they inserted them next to my cervix. So then they gave me some white pills to take. I have no idea what it was, but the first 3 hours of my labor, I do not remember at all because I was out of it and I have no recollection as to what happened. Wow. So I don't know. 3 hours went by after this happened. And my husband had video of it. He said I was saying all sorts of crazy things and doing weird stuff, but I don't remember any of it. I have no idea. So once I woke up out of whatever this was, I realized that I was in labor. And in fact, my body was like, hey, we're ready. We're doing something. I went through 11 hours of natural birth with no interventions, got ready to push, started pushing. My daughter was head down but face up, and the midwife came in and she was like, okay, well, I want to have you try pushing on all fours. She left me like that for maybe 10 minutes. Push, nothing happens. She puts me on my side. Try again. Push, nothing happens. She went out and got the doctor. At this point, I knew I'm about to have a C-section. Heart was broken, but I was like, okay, I got to get this baby here. Whatever. So I have the C-section and I wake up and my doctor says to me, well, while I was inside, I found some scarring. Have you ever had surgery before? No, I've never had any type of surgery before. Well, I went ahead and I decided to go ahead and scrape it for you just in case you decide that you want to get pregnant in the future. Okay. So at this point, I'm like, I just had a baby. I just really woke up out of this anesthesia. I don't really care what you did, whatever. But she says to me, if you want to have another baby, you should probably do it right away. What? This baby just came out of me. I don't want to talk about it right now. So, you know, we had the baby, we go home, and I don't really think anything else of it. I'm like, I can't have another baby right now. I just don't want to think about it. But after my C-section, my body went berserk. So every time I ate, it came back out, whether it was through the top or through the bottom, it just came back out. And this happened for like 3 months. My digestive system was so bad for like maybe an entire year. I developed an ovarian cyst and a cyst on my right ovary when my baby she was 9 months old at the time. And at that point, I was thinking, something's not right. But, you know, okay, maybe my body just, you know, didn't really like the C-section, whatever. I continued to have issues, and I went throughout this whole natural journey to fix everything. Got rid of the cyst and tried to balance my hormones. It worked out pretty well. But then when our daughter was, I want to say 3 years old, 2 or 3, we went to a fertility specialist because we were trying, nothing was really happening. I remembered what the doctor had said. So he looks at whatever she did. He looks at the C-section records, all this stuff. He's like, listen, if you want to have another child, you're going to have to do in vitro. Period, point blank, the end. And I was like, but wait, you know, I already had a baby. I don't have any money. What do you mean? I'm supposed to do in vitro. Like, I can't afford in vitro. Okay. So I completely lose it because I'm like, I don't have money. I don't know what to do. And he also told me at that time, it looks like you're going through perimenopause and you have the egg quality of like a 40-something-year-old woman. Oh, okay. And this is how he said it. It was very matter of fact. He was not nice about it. He was just like, this is what it is. Do it or don't. I really don't care. And I'm like heartbroken, sitting here trying not to cry, looking at my husband like, I don't know what we're going to do. So we continued to try like naturally. I tried everything I possibly could, acupuncture, womb massages, everything. And 3 years later, 3 years after that, we went back to another doctor who referred me to a specialist. He went in and decided to do a surgery to see if he could possibly fix whatever was going on. He opens me up. He goes in and he calls my husband while I'm in surgery. My husband is like, oh my God, like, he's calling me, this can't be good.
Yeah.
So he calls and he's like, I tried to fix her tubes. They're way too damaged. If I leave them in, she's probably gonna get pregnant, but it will be ectopic and I don't wanna run the risk. What do you want me to do? Husband's like, I don't know. She's asleep. If I make the wrong decision, she'll be mad at me. Like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. So he made the decision. The doctor removes my tubes. I wake up. He tells me, and he's like, whatever was done to you during your C-section caused your fallopian tubes to pull upwards and fuse backwards to the front of your womb. Wow. Usually when this happens, they go forward and I can fix them with no problem. But whatever she did when she was in there just caused them to become messed up. Now, mind you, I walked around like this for 5, almost 6 years, telling the doctors that I was in pain and that something wasn't right. And they were just like, you know, you're fine, it's fine, and there's no problem. So if someone had listened to me earlier, then maybe something could have been different. But, you know, we talked with the doctor, and at that point, we were able to finally afford in vitro. So we said, hey, why not? 2 years before that, we had adopted 2 children because, yes, we wanted to adopt later. But we were like, well, maybe we can at least give our daughter some siblings that are closer in age to her and then have another baby. We'll see. So we started the in vitro process. Series of unfortunate events happens and the doctor dies while we're in the middle of the process. And I get another doctor who is not listening to me. He didn't give me any of my records, so I had no idea what was happening. I'm paying for tests. They're not giving me any answers. And I'm just like, look, you know what? I can't take this anymore. Maybe we're just not supposed to do this. I'm going to walk away. And so I walked away and never really went back, never thought about doing in vitro again, just decided to leave it alone because for whatever reason, maybe it wasn't meant to be, or maybe I just wasn't ready to deal with the process, but I was done. So that was my story. But in 2016, I became a birth doula because I wanted to be an advocate for other women to keep them from dealing with any of those issues. And to, just really know their options. And as a doula, I've seen multiple cases where women had the exact same problem that I was having during labor. Not one of them ended in a C-section. So
wow. Good.
Yeah. So it made me feel good to be able to keep the same thing that happened to me from happening to someone else. And then I decided to start talking about fertility openly because, like you said, we sit here and we go through these things and nobody knows we're going through them. So when another person is dealing with it, they feel alone and they don't know that there's someone else out there like them or who's, gone through it and can then help them to deal with whatever they're going through. So I kind of took everything that I learned and started helping other people. And I'm in the process right now of taking more fertility trainings so that I can help people as well. And then last year, I started a foundation to help people pay for in vitro and adoption because money shouldn't be a reason, for you not being able to start your family. So that's my story. Like I said, it's a long, crazy journey, but we made it.
Yes.
Wow. That's amazing. I just want to say, just kudos to you for taking such a crazy, that's insane situation and turning it into, a way that you can bless other people and help them to not have to go through, some of the same things that you went through. And then the foundation, that's amazing. Yes. Because I know infertility treatments and IVF and everything is so expensive. And so, that definitely shouldn't be a barrier to people having children. And so that's amazing. And so we're definitely going to have to link everything below in the description box regarding the foundation, your social media platforms and everything so that people can get in contact with you if they need that assistance.
Yes. And I just want to say, your story is so similar to a lot of Black women in America who are dealing with simply being a Black woman in America and doctors not listening to you, and Christy and I have been big advocates for maternal health and, maternal equality, women, being treated the same and not just dismissed because, your body, you are the expert of yourself. So for a doctor to dismiss you when you're saying, I'm in pain, something's wrong, it's disheartening. That broke my heart to hear, that you had been expressing repeatedly and constantly they're dismissing you. And it's that one doctor that finally said, let me go in and see what's going on here. And then unfortunately he dies. I would be like, Lord, what is happening? And so that was a heartbreaking story. But just like Christy said, it is inspiring to know that, you can take all the negative and all the things that have, happened to you in life and you didn't allow it to break you, but instead you used it as building blocks to build something better that not only will bless you, but bless other people. And I think that that's amazing when you can look at your life and make something of it, when other people will look at you and have pity and, look at you and be like, whatever, but you're like, no, this is not going to be what defines me. What defines me is what I'm going to do with what happened, so I definitely say, kudos to you for that, and and to start a foundation to help other people, like that's something that I never even thought of, and so, but it's amazing, it is amazing, because yes, there are a lot of people who I've seen people do GoFundMes and all this stuff to try to come up with the money for in vitro, and it's not easy. And so a lot of people do go without children, or they'll end up fostering or maybe adopting, but that even costs money too, depending on what agency you go through, so it's like, it's amazing what you do. And your story is it doesn't even matter like how long it was. I was just like, what? And then what happened? Your story is almost too radical to be true, but it is true. Like you've lived it. And it's amazing. And for you to be able to take it and help other women as a doula so they don't have to experience what you've experienced, like that's amazing. It is. It's hard out here, especially for women of color. And when you think that you're alone in your struggle and in your fight and in your journey, it makes it even that much harder to even go through it, So I really appreciate that you're using your voice and that you're sharing your platform with other women and really just taking the stigma off of infertility. Like, okay, we have infertility. What are we doing about it? We're not going to let it break us. We're going to learn what we can. We're going to understand our bodies. And I did have a question though. What were some of the natural remedies that you did to, when you said you had the cysts and all that stuff and you kind of balanced your stuff? What did you do?
Well, one of the first things I did was really do my research. So I started looking at different things that were out there, and naturalfertilityinfo.com has like a plethora of information. And I went there and I kind of looked at everything that she did. And I ordered I think it's the fertility cleanse that she had. That was one of the very first things that I did. So I did the fertility cleanse, and then I started changing my diet because I thought that I was eating very well and very healthy. I eat whole grain bread and whole grain pasta and all of these things, and I eat vegetables, but they're canned. But I thought I was eating pretty healthy. I've never been a person that eats a lot of sugar and things like that anyway. My biggest thing is dairy, or was dairy and white potatoes. That was like my vice. But I took all of those things out. I was the person that went cold turkey. I was like, listen, I'm throwing it all out. I'm getting rid of it. I will not eat it. Whatever it takes to get rid of these things. So after I did the fertility cleanse, I went vegan for 3 months. And it's very interesting because the month before I got pregnant, I had actually did a 21-day Daniel fast. So going vegan seems to work for me. So I did that for 3 months, and I ate mostly cabbage and broccoli and things that have them in it every day. I was taking supplements that were helping to get rid of the scar tissue that I had and the cysts. So I started on serapeptase, which is an enzyme, and I took that like religiously for about 6 months. And when I first went to the doctor's office for the 3-month checkup, they were like, it's getting a lot smaller, but it's still there. So I was like, okay, I think something's working. Let me kick it up a notch. So then I started including all of these teas. So my red raspberry leaf tea, started doing lots of ginger and turmeric. I went to see an acupuncturist. I started doing these castor oil packs. I was doing womb massages, you name it, I was doing it. And at that 6-month point, when I went back to the doctor's office, both of the ultrasound techs, because I was at 2 different practices, one for my breast and one for the ovarian cyst, they went in and they were looking and they started looking confused, and then they were like, oh, hold on, let me see if I can. And the lady scratches her head and she comes back and she's like, wait a minute, this can't be right. And so she does it again, and she's like, I don't see anything.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. And I'm like, yes, with the ovaries. And then I go over to check out the breasts, and I'm like, whew, okay, let's see what's happening. Lady comes out, she's looking, she's like, okay. She moves around and she's like, let me try on the other side. Like,
See nothing.
I don't see anything. And so I was very, very encouraged at that point, because I didn't know anything about health when I first started this journey. And after doing research and, like I said, looking at naturalinfertility.com, I'm like, man, I got rid of a whole cyst, and, this is crazy. So if I just keep with this practice, then imagine what else I could do. And I was able to fix my egg quality and get all of my hormone levels ready for in vitro, but then I just decided I was done. So
like, we're done.
Yes. So now I kind of help other women and empower them to, one, find out what the problem is first, because you don't want to just randomly start taking things or doing things. And then figure out what your plan of action will be. Do you want to work with a naturopath? Do you want to see an herbalist? Are you going to get acupuncture? Will you do yoga and all these different things out there? But just really figure out what's going on first, and then you just start doing things. That's kind of what I did.
Are you still vegan?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I am working my way back there because I started eating, completely organic, grass-fed everything, all of that stuff. But for me personally, I'm now on this whole blood type diet journey. And I have type A, and type A is not supposed to eat that much meat, which makes a lot of sense to me, because I'm like, every time I needed to heal, if I took out meat, no matter what the problem was, I was good. So maybe you just need to be that way. I'm working on it.
I did that as well, the blood type diet, and I'm type A as well. And so I'm like, just the exponential change that, happened just from taking out meat. It's it's kind of astounding. I said I'm gonna get back to it as well, because I felt, more energy and everything like that. So it definitely works, at least, from what I can say, it works. But I did have a question in regards to, because this is something that we talk about a lot, just in the midst of, going through everything, what was your support system like, or, what did you rely on to really get you through those really hard moments?
Wow, that is a crazy question, because as we know, it's like going through the grief cycle multiple times. And for me personally, I have my best friend that I really relied on, and my husband to some extent, but he, men can kind of be like, I don't really know what to do with this. Is she crying? Like, I don't know. Do I hug you? Do I say something? Like, I really don't know. So for him, it was kind of a struggle, because I'm usually the person that's not overly emotional. But this took me through a lot of dark moments and valleys. So for him, he didn't really know how to react. He was like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. So woo, woo, woo. It's okay. Whereas my best friend could better understand what I was going through, because she's had struggles of her own in that area. And so she was the person that I was able to rely on. And also my faith, which really ended up being challenged a lot throughout this process. I threw away a lot of things that I thought that I knew, and picked up some things that I didn't know. But through it all, my faith in, a higher power that's out there somewhere, just kind of grew. And I spent a lot of moments yelling and being angry and saying, why are you doing this to me? Type of, thing. And every time I seemed to do that, some type of breakthrough would happen, whether it was me figuring out what to do next or me having an idea. So the name of my foundation is Faithfully Fertile Foundation. And through one of those screaming fits one day, I had this idea of like, yes, I'm going to start a foundation one day, and this is going to be the name of it. But I thought it was going to happen after I got pregnant, and I was going to teach people how I got pregnant, and, you know, it was just going to be the whole thing and talk about my faith and all of that. But, you know, that apparently wasn't the plan. And 2 years later, one of my friends came back to me and she said, I had a dream that you did something, and it was called Faithfully Fertile Foundation. And I'm like, oh my God, like this thing is going to totally happen. But it didn't happen that way. But I said all that to say, like, really just talking to God, journaling was another big one for me. I wrote all of these letters to God, to this unborn child that I had never had or seen. Started writing like a book that I'm still kind of working on, and it will hopefully be released, if not this year, next year. But, you know, writing was another big one for me. And then just focusing on my health. Because with me, my husband suggested one time, he was like, you know, maybe you should go see a therapist. And me personally, I studied psychology in undergrad. I went through a master's program for counseling. So I was like, I don't really know. I don't know. Maybe not. I never went to see a therapist, but I really started focusing on my mental health because I feel like I lost that piece along the way. I got so wrapped up and so obsessed in just getting pregnant. Like that was the only thing I cared about. I didn't care about anything else. It was just, I can't eat this because I won't get pregnant. I can't do that because I won't get pregnant. I have to go to bed because I won't get pregnant. Like everything was focused on that. So I had to learn how to really break that cycle. And one of the ways that I did that was by focusing on my health. And again, my best friend played a big role in that because she's also super hippie, as my husband calls us. So we kind of started supporting each other in that way. And I really focused on learning to make myself healthy versus trying to get pregnant. So that's the answer to that question.
That's awesome. That's pretty similar to our story. I mean, our faith played a big role in, you know, our journeys. Same like you, whether we're yelling at God, like, you know, everybody else get to get pregnant. Everybody else get to have their child, Lord. Have I not been faithful? You know? And so, yeah, we've all been there. And, you know, sometimes, you know, God's message is no, sometimes it's wait. Still wait, it's not your turn yet, you know. And, you know, for yours, it was like, you know, I have a different vision for you, you know, and learning to accept, you know, that's something we talk about on our channel too, learning to accept what God allows. And, you know, going through the motions of that, because that's not easy, especially if what God allows is something you did not want, you know, completely against what my plans were, Lord. You know, and just learning to come to terms with that and saying, okay, this is what God has allowed to happen. How can I use this? Yeah. And a lot of people never get to that point. You know, a lot of people just wallow in what never was, you know, and, you know, focus on what they don't have and what their lack is. But when, you know, a lot of people never get to the point of, okay, how can I use this to push me forward, to bless other people or to glorify God, you know? And that also goes in tune with the mental health. You know, if you're working on your self-care and you're working on your mental health and your spiritual health, you can get to that other side and that point where you're like, this happened to me, but that's not the end of my story, you know? And so kudos to you. Even though you didn't go to a counselor, you still knew how to do the work because you've had training in it. So you still knew how to do the work and how to process what you were going through so that you could get healthy on the other side and, you know, be progressive. So that's awesome. And having a support system, very, very important. Very important to have at least one or two people who understand, you know, and even if they don't understand, just willing to stand beside you. through it, even if they don't truly understand what you're going through. Because yes, my husbands, because they're not in our body, so they can't truly understand what we're going through. All they can do is sympathize because someone they love and care about is hurting, so they can sympathize, but they won't ever really understand because they're not a woman. and a lot of times society tells us that it's usually the woman's fault. The woman is the reason, you don't have a child, yada, yada, yada. We don't really focus on the men too much as far as infertility and stuff. So that's another burden, that we have to carry, especially me. That's a burden that I carry because I'm looking at myself like, what's wrong with me? How can I fix me? This and that, but no one ever focuses on the man. Is the man eating right? Is he doing what he needs to do to make sure he has healthy sperm, different things like that. So, it's definitely important to have these open conversations. So I'm glad that you could come on today and have this conversation with us. Like, it's been amazing.
I have one final question. And so you just being a doula, how are you able to assist, especially those who are high risk? Is that like a certain level of additional education that you need to get, or is it just, mainly just being an advocate whenever it's their time to, have the baby or whatnot?
You have doulas that do specialize in high-risk pregnancies. Usually they're people who probably had high-risk pregnancies themselves, so they can relate to you, pretty well. But as far as support, I think it depends on what they want. So with me, whatever you want, that's what I'm going to offer you. If you want to be completely natural in the wilderness somewhere, like if that's your thing, then okay, we're going to figure out how we can make that happen for you. If you want a completely medicated, I want every possible thing the doctor can give me, I'm there to do that too. So really just making sure that the person is educated, that they know what their options are, and advocating for them. Because whether you're high risk or not, you still have options. They can't just say, oh, you have to do this or you can't do that. You still have some options as a birthing person. So figure out what your options are. Like I said, have that birth plan. What do you want? How do you want things to look? And really just advocating for yourself and making sure that you can find your voice, because we can't speak for you, but we can make sure that you understand what's being said to you. So if they say something and you don't understand it, we're that person that's like, excuse me, wait a minute, did you get that? Do you have any questions? And then, you'll talk to the doctor or whatever. We can also help you as far as like, do you need help with your nutritional needs? Some doulas are able to do that depending on what type of training they have. We can go with you to your appointments so that we can hear what's being said, so that we know, kind of what to do. But it really depends on how much support you want and what is kind of needed. So just really kind of decide what you would want and how you would want it to look. Do you want that person to be there with you the entire time? Do you want them to be virtual? Do you need them physically there? And what do you need from them?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a client that wanted you there from the beginning to the end?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I have. Most of my clients kind of, either they've only had one child. I think I've had one that had multiple children, but she'd never done it naturally before. She wanted to try to go natural, so she wanted some support there. I've done VBACs that were like 10 years after the first child, so the lady was like, I don't know what to do, help me. But I've pretty much seen it all. So, yeah.
That's awesome. One of the points that you said, and something that we express so much, and that Christi even said, is just making sure that you find your own voice, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it affects you, as the mother and everything. And so that's something that we always try to express and, you know, and let our viewers know that it's so important to be your own best advocate and stuff. And of course, you know, if you want to have like a doula like you, or your partner, just making sure that somebody is there to truly understand and advocate for you when you cannot.
Yeah, that's very important. So thank you so much, Sierra, for coming and agreeing to have this chat with us. It has been very informative and enlightening and fun. And we definitely hope to have you back again to chat a little bit more later on. But yeah, I just want to thank you for this time. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. It was wonderful to be here, and I look forward to connecting with you all and hopefully sharing more.
Well, thanks again. This was awesome. So much
it was so good to connect with you guys. I didn't even know that there were other Black women out there talking about this, so I'm really excited.
That's why we need this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. For sure.
Absolutely. So thank you guys. And like I said, just let me know, hopefully within the next couple weeks, if you guys are free, we can talk about this. There are so many Black women that are in my inbox asking questions about infertility and loss. So this would be great.
Oh, definitely. We would love to share. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. You guys have a great
email us. I have the naturalfertilityinfo.com that you mentioned, but your Faithfully Fertile Foundation. So the information for your foundation, if you have like a website and everything. And then just, I guess, if you have another website as you being a doula, all your social media platforms, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to include that. So you can just respond to, I guess, the email that we sent you with the Zoom request.
Okay. I will go ahead and send that to you. And like I said, just let me know your availability so that we can, have something similar, just kind of chat and tell your stories and kind of what you're doing and things like that.
That's perfect.
Good. Awesome.
All right. Y'all have a great rest of the day.
Thank you guys for watching. Bye.
Bye.